My name is Daniel Hart. I'm a long-haul truck driver, living in a small, quiet town outside of Augusta, Georgia. For years I drove coast to coast, carrying freight across the country, while my heart stayed home with my wife, Maya, and our son, Liam. If you're just joining this now, take a deep breath. What I'm about to share is something I never imagined would happen under my own roof while I was away working to provide for my family. What I discovered changed my life, and it might change yours too, especially if you're a parent who has to be away from your children for work. Sometimes we think we know the people closest to us, but there are things that surface only when you least expect them. If this story connects with you, please hit the like button. To bring a little sunshine to this father's heart, subscribe to Storyverse so you don't miss my next life stories. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. It really makes me happy to know which corner of the country or world is listening. It almost started when I noticed a change in Liam's behavior. He had always been a cheerful kid, the kind who would run and hug me as soon as I walked in from a trip, who'd tell me everything that happened at school, who laughed loud at cartoons. My son was pure energy, pure joy. At least, that's how I remembered him. After a trip that kept me away nearly 3 weeks, I came home and Liam barely came out of his room to greet me. When I checked on him, he hugged me but seemed distant, with a look in his eyes I didn't recognize. I assumed he was tired. "Everything okay, buddy?" I asked, ruffling his hair like always. "Yeah, Dad," he answered quietly, avoiding my gaze. Maya appeared in the doorway. "He's been kinda quiet these last few days." "Probably a phase, he's growing up." "Dinner's ready," she said. That night I watched Liam at dinner. He ate slowly, head bowed, glancing at his mother as if afraid of doing the wrong thing. And the rings under his eyes, they were deep, like he hadn't slept in a long time. "How's school, champ?" I tried. "Fine," he muttered without looking up. "What about Kevin, is he still coming over to play?" I asked, and saw Maya staring at him. Liam swallowed hard before answering. After dinner I tucked him in. When we were alone I sat on the bed and asked again if everything was okay. He grabbed my hand and whispered something that chilled me. "Dad, don't tell Mom I talked to you." "Talked about what, pal?" My heart sped up. Before he could answer, Maya stood in the doorway. "Time for bed, Liam. School's early tomorrow." He flinched when he saw her. That reaction wasn't normal. I kissed his forehead and left the room, but my head was spinning. I couldn't sleep. Something was wrong. I promised myself to watch more closely the next few days before my next run. Over the following days I observed him more carefully. At school his teacher said he'd become quieter, less involved. At home he stayed in his room drawing or reading. When I asked if he was okay he'd say yes, but his eyes told another story. One afternoon when Maya had run to the store, I sat with Liam in the living room and tried again to talk. At first he resisted, then slowly started to open up. "Buddy, you can tell me anything. Dad will always protect you." He wrung his hands and whispered, "I don't like it when you travel, Dad." "Why, son? Doesn't Mom take good care of you?" No, he wouldn't elaborate and lowered his head. The next time I pressed, he began to cry softly. I held him and felt his small body tremble. Between sobs he begged, "Please, Dad, don't tell Mom." That broke me. Why would my child be so guarded around his own mother? He kept crying until we heard the key in the front door. Liam wiped his face and changed his manner as if switching into a mask. "I'm home," Maya called, carrying grocery bags. She smiled seeing us in the living room, but there was something off in that smile. "What were you two up to?" she asked. "Just talking," I replied, trying to sound casual. Liam nodded quietly and excused himself. That night, I watched them closely. Liam avoided looking at Maya, measured his words, and sat like he carried some invisible weight. Maya kept up normal conversation, weather, neighbors, weekend plans. When I brought up Liam being different, she brushed it off. It's a phase, Daniel. Kids change. When I pointed out the dark circles, she said, he's been having nightmares. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to worry you on the road. Her answer sounded reasonable, but a knot in my gut didn't go away. A few nights later I woke and noticed Maya wasn't in bed. The hallway light was dim, the door to Liam's room stood slightly open. I froze and watched. After about 30 minutes she came back and closed the door softly. When I asked what she was doing, she claimed she had checked Liam because he'd woken up and was agitated. I tried not to show my suspicions. The next morning, while Maya took Liam to school, I looked under his bed and found a worn teddy I had given him years earlier. It was torn and had dark, dried spots on it that looked like old stains. That puzzled me. Liam always took care of his toys. That night I intentionally stayed awake, and around 11 I saw Maya slip out of our room and go to Liam's. I crept to his door and listened. Muffled crying. A low, firm voice, Maya's, saying, "This is discipline. It's for your own good." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What kind of discipline made my son sob quietly through the night? The next morning I drove to an electronics shop and bought a tiny, discreet camera that I could view from my phone. I felt awful for doing it, but my son's well-being mattered more than my discomfort. Back home, with Liam at school and Maya in the kitchen, I hid the small camera on the bookshelf in his room, angled to cover the bed. That night I watched dinner as if nothing was wrong. Liam stayed quiet, glancing at his mother. Maya spoke like any normal mom. I announced I had a run to Texas, and Liam's shoulders sank. At bedtime he clung to me and begged, "Do you really have to go?" The desperation in his voice broke me. I promised he'd be okay. After lights out, I pretended to sleep. About an hour later I opened the camera feed on my phone. On the small screen, I watched Maya enter Liam's room, close the door, and stand over him. He pulled the covers up, terrified. "Please, Mom," he whispered. Her voice had gone cold. "You know this is for your education." She pulled a roll of tape from her robe pocket. I watched in stunned horror as she taped his mouth shut. My 8-year-old, silenced. I gripped the phone so hard my hands shook. Maya took a slipper from the other pocket and began to hit him. These weren't light spanks, they were hard, repeated blows. Liam couldn't scream because of the tape, but his body convulsed with every strike. He lay in silent sobs. "This is for talking to your father," I heard her whisper between the blows. "You can't tell him our business." After what felt like an eternity she ripped the tape off his mouth, smoothed his blanket as if nothing had happened, and left. My whole body trembled. I had to be sure, so I kept recording. I felt sick that I had missed this for so long. Minutes later she returned to bed and I pretended to be asleep until morning. The next day I made breakfast for Liam and watched him. He moved like someone defeated. I crouched and looked him in the eye. "I love you," I said. "I'll protect you." I transferred the footage to a flash drive and uploaded copies to cloud storage. I couldn't risk losing that evidence. I had to leave on my route that afternoon, but this run was different. I kept checking the camera. The ritual repeated that night. Maya entered, taped his mouth, struck him, told him never to tell. I couldn't stand it. I called Maya's brother, Marcus Reed, a good man I trusted, and asked for help. I explained in rapid breaths that Marcus needed to go to the house and take Liam with him immediately. "Invent any excuse, tell her you need help with something. Just get him out," I begged. Marcus was shocked but agreed. He called me back within the hour. Liam was safe at his place. He'd told Maya he needed help assembling something and brought Liam with him. My relief was immense. Marcus handed the phone to Liam. "Dad," he said timidly. I told him I was driving home as fast as I could and that he should stay with Uncle Marcus and Sophia for now. His soft, "Thank you," shattered me. Marcus asked what was happening. I told him I had installed a camera because I noticed changes in Liam, and I had seen Maya abuse him. Marcus couldn't believe it. "That's my sister," he whispered, pale. I said I had video. He promised to keep Liam safe. I drove through the night, remembering the small signs I'd missed, the dark circles, the fear, the way Liam stifled himself when Maya walked in. How had I not seen it sooner? At dawn I stopped for coffee, checked the camera and heard Maya on the phone with her mother, talking about Marcus taking Liam and saying, "He won't believe me, and Ethan knows not to tell." My blood boiled. When I reached Marcus's house, Liam was curled up asleep, finally peaceful. Marcus and Sophia led me to the living room. "He has marks on his back," Sophia said, voice breaking. I showed them the videos. Sophia left the room crying. Marcus watched in stunned silence. "This is monstrous," he said. We agreed to go to the police. I copied the recordings and prepared to file a report. I also called a lawyer. I couldn't wait to get my son out of that house. Marcus and Sophia agreed to keep Liam with them. When Maya learned a protective order had been served, she reacted badly, calling everyone and denying it. She even suggested I was making it up to take my son away. The hypocrisy was infuriating. The detective at the sheriff's office took the videos seriously. They filed a report and told me we could request emergency protective measures. I spent hours at the precinct, giving statements and uploading the footage into evidence. The Department of Children and Family Services became involved. That evening, the court officer called to say they'd served Maya with a protective notice. She was agitated and denied everything, claiming I was lying. I was exhausted but relieved that Liam was now somewhere safe. At Marcus's, Liam clung to me and sobbed. "Dad? It's okay now?" he asked. I held him and told him I would never let anyone hurt him again. Marcus and Sophia made space, giving us privacy. I explained to Liam I had seen what Maya had been doing, the tape, the hitting. He looked up, dizzy with confusion. "You saw?" he asked. When I told him I had, he whispered sorry. My child apologizing for being abused broke me. Liam eventually told me it had started about a year ago, when my longer trips began. Maya told him it was discipline and said if he told anyone, no one would believe him. He said the abuse happened mostly when I was asleep or away. I remembered times I woke to find her returning to bed, saying she'd gotten water or checked on Liam. I had missed the pattern. Marcus asked what we should do. I went to the police and filed for a protective order and temporary custody. The detective explained the steps, evidence, child protection involvement, and court filings. I had the videos, witness statements, and Marcus's help. That night Marcus reported Maya had come by their house angry and tried to see Liam. She was stopped and left after an argument. We realized she might try to build a case against me, using my past long absences to claim I was an absent father. I changed my routine immediately. I arranged to stop long runs and took a local logistics position that let me be home nightly. I documented everything: school runs, therapy appointments, receipts, photos, statements from Liam's therapist and teachers, to show I was now the primary caregiver. Liam began therapy with Dr. Alvarez, a child psychologist experienced in trauma. Progress was slow but real. After sessions Dr. Alvarez told me Liam's trauma was deep but treatable with stable support. She said children can be remarkably resilient when they have protection and belief from adults. I still carried guilt for not seeing it earlier, but I resolved to be present. Marcus warned me that Maya was trying to revoke the protective order and claim custody due to my past absences. She was seeking witnesses to paint herself as a dedicated mom. The court process was ugly at times, but the video evidence, therapist's report, and Liam's protected testimony proved decisive. The judge granted me temporary exclusive custody and ordered Maya to undergo psychological evaluation and treatment before any contact could be considered. For now, visits were suspended. In the weeks after, we moved into a small apartment near Marcus and Sophia. I cut my travel and took a job that let me come home at night. Liam's nightmares decreased, and he began to smile in small moments again. He joined a soccer team, started making friends, and slowly reclaimed the playful boy he had been. One afternoon Liam asked me a heartbreaking question, "Dad, did Mom not love me?" I struggled with how to answer. I told him there are people who hurt others because they don't know how to handle their own pain. It doesn't mean the child did anything wrong. "So she was sick?" he asked. "In a way," I said. "Sometimes people need help to stop hurting others." He accepted that answer with a solemn nod. The legal battle wasn't over, but the judge denied Maya's petition to revoke the protective measures. Dr. Alvarez's report, the videos, and Liam's statements were decisive. The judge required Maya to get treatment and made any future contact conditional and supervised, based on professional recommendation. Tonight, as I watch Liam sleep peacefully for the first time in many weeks, I reflect on the journey we've been through, the discovery, the rescue, the therapy, the court hearings. It was the hardest period of our lives, but it marked the start of healing. We found a new balance. Family first. I left long-haul runs behind and chose work that kept me home. Liam is 10 now. His nightmares are rare, therapy sessions are less frequent but ongoing. Though some wounds remain, he is learning they were not his fault and how to set boundaries. Maya faced legal consequences. After evaluations and hearings she was found guilty of child abuse and ordered to receive psychiatric treatment, community service, and permanently lost custody. She periodically attempts to regain visitation rights, claiming she's changed, but the court requires professional approval and Liam's consent. He shows little interest in seeing her and understandably shuts down if the topic arises. The thing that struck me most in all this was how abuse can hide behind a perfect image. Maya had kept up a devoted mother persona to neighbors, family, and teachers. No one suspected this. I learned to be observant. Liam's signs weren't just a phase. They were cries for help. Now our home is built on trust. Liam knows he can tell me anything without fear of punishment. We teach discipline through conversation and consequences, not violence. He's become empathetic and protective. At school he stands up for classmates who are vulnerable. I was invited to speak at a local support group for parents who have experienced domestic violence. A woman told me she had also installed cameras after noticing changes in her child. My story gave her courage to act. That camera saved our son. It showed the truth that I'd feared but couldn't prove. My desperate step of spying on my own house turned into salvation. Today, when I watch Liam run in the yard with his dog, laughing, I see the boy he should have always been. He still has scars, but they're slowly healing. To parents watching, trust your instincts. If something seems wrong with your child, investigate. Behavioral changes, fear, withdrawal, unexplained bruises or dark circles, must not be ignored. Talk, listen, observe drawings and play. And remember, violence is never discipline. It is abuse. Our story had a happy ending. Not all do. Some children suffer for years because no one intervenes. Don't let that happen. Be the voice and protection every child deserves. If this story moved you, give it a like, it really helps this dad. Subscribe to Storyverse so you don't miss the next life story I tell from the heart. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. If you've experienced something similar or had to make tough choices to protect a child, please share. Your experience could help another family. A big hug from me. Did you like this story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you want to support more stories like this, a super thanks is always appreciated. Thank you so much for your support. 2 more life stories are on the screen that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.